Hello everyone, welcome back to SportsKhabri and Arunfoot. We're back with yet another episode of Candid Football Conversations. I'm Rahul and with me is Arunava Chaudhuri. Arunava, 2023 is done. 2024, lots to look forward to from an Indian football perspective. There are so many things that we can discuss, but firstly, how are you doing and how is 2024 treating you?
Thank you, Rahul. First of all, a belated Happy New Year to you and everybody else who's watching. So far, the start has been good. Hopeful because the AFC Asian Cup is around the corner. So, a lot of high level football for Indian football fans to look forward to. But yeah, there are so many topics in and around Indian football. If we look at 2023, a lot of things have happened, a lot of things have not happened. I think we spoke about a lot of things that would happen and sadly have happened, and no one has taken action to it. So, we thought maybe we should put down some of our thoughts and some of our ideas of what needs to be done and put it out in the public domain, and maybe something to look at maybe towards the end of the year and say, these are the things that we spoke about in early January 2024. This is what's happened or not happened in these prospective topics.
Yeah, I know. I think probably the most important thing a lot of people have been talking about was calendar management in 2023. We saw a lot of competition sort of intertwining, not enough preparation time for one tournament. Then you've got, for example, now the Super Cup happening in tandem with the Asian Championship. So a lot of things, calendar related issues, Asian Games, we saw it as well. So yeah, is that the first sort of most important thing to look forward to in 2024 and hope that we get those things right?
Yes, I think the calendar is the starting and the ending of everything. And I think we need to sort out our men's calendar very, very clearly, very, very cleanly also. And it starts, so to say, for our top level players, which means that we're talking about the ISL, we're talking about the national team. So you need to, intertwine those calendars and see how they overlap, how it works, because we spoke about it in August that September 2023 would be the first real test for the AIFF in regard to the new calendar. And one has to be very, very honest about it. The AIFF failed the footballers on that front. How do you look at an expanded ISL? It's no longer an 8 or a 10 team competition. It is 12 teams. It might grow to 13 teams next season. So, which means another two match days added to the calendar, using the Duran Cup as a pre-season. It needs to be if you want to do it a straight knockout. Question of Super Cup or Federation Cup. What will that be? Will it be? Are you going back to the Federation Cup? And if you're going back to the Federation Cup, will you have it as a straight knockout tournament? These are the questions which the AIFF needs to answer, because otherwise this mess continues. Also, with India playing in the third round of World Cup qualifiers in March and in June, in the second round of qualifiers in March and in June, does it potentially mean that we thereafter play the third round of qualifiers? What does it mean for commitments in SAF? So I think all of these things need to be factored in so that it is easier for the fans to follow, and it's better for the players, because as we are seeing at the moment going into the AFC Asian Cup, there are numerous players who are really, really tired, and some of them are actually fatigued because of too much of football over the last 6-7 months.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, calendar management is a really, really important part, and the calendar management of probably India's most important competition, which is the ISL, is very important. In that backdrop, what does the ISL what lies for the ISL in 2024 and the I League? These sort of two important competitions that we have in India.
I think the first question is regarding the AIFF and FSDL as the commercial rights holder of the federation, if their contract, which runs out in 2025, after its 15-year period, is it going to be extended or not? That's the first question. And how will it be extended? That's the next question. Is it got to, will it run as it has run, or will they change things in the contract? And who takes care of what? That's the first question, because that is interlinked to the future of the ISL and the I League. If by any chance Reliance decides to walk away from the AIFF, What does it mean? Does the ISL become an AIFF property and the AIFF have to run it? Will the franchisees keep their commitment towards Indian football? What happens with broadcast and other things? There are so many questions which are open that this contract extension, or if someone else comes in as a new commercial partner of the federation, that's a very, very big question to answer. And that's a question which might not be on the minds of the football fans, but it is a huge question in regard to the future of commercial, professional Indian football, especially club football.
Yeah, worst case scenario, if, for example, FSDL do walk away, I don't know, then what happens? Um, where do you see sort of Indian football going from there?
Very difficult to say, but one option is, and that's, let's talk about the worst case scenario. There might be no future for the ISL, because the ISL is a league which was created by Reliance, and I said there are franchisees who are very closely linked to the Reliance family. There are other corporate houses who have come in because Reliance runs and organizes the league. Are they going to stick with Indian football? We've seen a lot of corporates leave Indian football in the early 2000s or early 2010s. With Mahindra's leaving, JCT leaving. You had with the coming of the ISL, you had also Dempo Sporting Club de Goa leaving the system, even Churchill leaving and then coming back later. So therefore, there's been a lot of turmoil. And at this stage where the ISL is sort of getting a little bit of stability and the whole structure is sort of being worked on by the AIFF, it would be a major disruption and could be actually have a devastating effect on Indian football.
Fair enough. And another important sort of facet of Indian football that will tell us where Indian football is sort of going in the next few years: youth and grassroots programs. Very, very important. Of course, we all know why. And yeah, where does youth and grassroots football stand in 2024? Do we have plans for leagues? Do we have the right sort of leagues being implemented across India for the right development of our youngsters?
I think that's the big question. The AIFF has started certain programs, for example, the baby leagues. You've got the numerous youth leagues. Some of that has been post-COVID, little haphazard. Some of it has been turned into rather tournaments than rather leagues. I think that's what we need to expand these competitions. There needs to be an impetus not only on the AIFF, but rather the state association and district associations to get involved in a bigger way to implement all of this. I think that's the key, that you have as much of as football as possible at the grassroots, at the youth level. So the kids are playing week in, week out. It's the need of the hour. In an ideal case scenario, kids are playing up to 40 matches a season. I know for an Indian context, it's going to be difficult to do that. But we need to get those leagues at city level, at state level, going, so that we have a future on that front and that things happen. Because otherwise, we're stuck. We're stuck with, the cycle of, oh, this is not happening, that is not happening. It's amongst the most important thing, that grassroots and youth football is happening in the men's and also in the women's game.
Yeah. Arunava, then another, all of these facets are very important, but women's football, we've seen a change in women's football, especially the league structure. We've got home and away in the IWL. Do you see that as sort of an advancement and as progress in the women's game? And what potentially more could we see in 2024 for the national team as well?
I think one of the best things that the AIFF have done in the recent past is actually to make the IWL a smaller home and away league. Supposed to be 8 teams. Again, the team from Manipur can't take part, so that's why it's 7 teams. But still, a 7-team league, home and away over 3-4 months. Brilliant step. Now you have to build on it. You will have an IWL2 as well below that. Now that structure, that pyramid needs to be built from the top tier to the lower tiers of women's football. That's, I think, the need of the hour in the women's game. The national team hasn't done too well in the last few months. That's another factor where I thought that the women's team is closer to qualifying potentially for a women's World Cup than the men's. So therefore, there needs to be a focus. I don't know if Thomas Dennerby is going to come back or if someone new will take over in the year 2024, but that looks likely to me. So therefore, yes, the AIFF has to put some focus on the women's game.
Fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, no, and finally, the governance part of it. The AIFF runs the show here. Um, any changes particularly that you're looking at, or sort of structural changes particularly that you think should be made in the within the AIFF, or how they're handling things?
Governance is something which has been close to my heart over the last few years, and I've been involved in a few things of trying to help the AIFF and safeguard the interest of AIFF and Indian football. There are certain things which are still in court. There are matters in regard to the sports code. I don't know if the sports code, if
Yeah.
and when it will be implemented, but there are things which are against sort of rules of football, which are football, global football governance issues. I hope they get sorted and the AIFF structure is so strong that they can work and focus on growing Indian football. And I think that's the main thing. Growing Indian football, getting more kids to play the sport, growing it at a professional level, finding means and ways also for club football to become commercially viable at the top. I think that's also a very, very important factor for AIFF and FSDL to look at that, because that's the key. Because then if there is more money at the top, which is generated from within football, it then trickles down through the system. And I think that's a very, very important one that hopefully that governance matters are looked at seriously and are taken care of as well.
Yeah, I guess the hope, Arnava, is that all these points are addressed and we see the development of Indian football over the next year or so. And to be honest, as an Indian football fan, I think I just want to see more kids go out and play the sport, and hopefully, yeah, we're better off in 2024, and we're inching closer towards that World Cup dream. And yeah, well, yeah. Thanks, Anwar. Thanks for this short chat. Everybody, please do like and share these videos. Subscribe to the channel, SportsKhabri and Arunfoot. We'll be back. Thanks, Anwar.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.